with Black with No Chaser.
Hi, Laz. Sika, we're here with Black with No Chaser. So quickly, this script, when you got it, were you expecting the changes that happened at the end? Because that was a lot.
Let me tell you something, Sika. I wasn't expecting the changes that happened in every single scene. Like literally, it got to the point where you realize you can't really prepare to work on a Guy Ritchie movie. You just got to show up, be open to changes, be open to improv, and just be ready and present. You know, and what would this character do if this happened, or if that happened, or if this happened, or if all this other stuff that was never in the script? Because I feel like that's kind of the mad scientist part of Guy Ritchie, that he puts us in scenarios that we didn't see coming. And you're gonna make mistakes. You know, he might say, I want you to run over there, hide behind that pole and shoot. And that's not what was in the script. So on your way over there, you drop a magazine, you drop your gun, you don't cut yourself. You gotta grab the gun, hide, wait. Okay, they stop shooting. Now go behind the pole. And that nervous energy, that not knowing what the heck is going on, that chaos, that's what he captures. Because he never cuts. He lets the cameras just go. And if you make a mistake, he's gonna focus on that mistake and keep it in the film. And so that's what I would say I never saw coming, was any of it.
Awesome. So we also have Cirillo on here with Black with No Chaser.
Laz, was good, bro, man. It's Cirillo with Black with No Chaser. Look, I'm over in DC, so I feel like I gotta ask a DC related question. Somebody's born and raised out here in the DMV. And so there's been many people, entertainers, actors, musicians, right, all like grace the streets of DC, man. How does it feel being in the actual like number with the Dave Chappelle, the Tommy Davidson, the Martin Lawrences, like, you know what I mean, the Taraji P. Henson? How does it feel at this moment in your career to kind of be in that space and to kind of be around those people?
I feel like I gotta push harder, man, to be honest with you, because everybody that you named are at a place in their career where I would say they are one of the best to do it. And in order for me to be able to put DC and keep DC on the map, as well as feel like I've earned my spot to be named with these folks, that things like that continue to fuel me to push harder and to do better and to grow my craft and to do bigger projects. You know, so if nothing else, hearing those names continues to inspire me, because I feel like we come from a city of greatness. And in order to be in that alumni class, you got to be great. There's no excuse. So it makes me push. It makes me work harder.
Appreciate that.
Just as a reminder, if you could please type question in the chat, and please mute yourself after your question, okay? When you want to ask a question. We're going to go to Michael Simmons with We Random TV.
All right, Laz, I got a question for you, man. So I know you practice martial arts and whatnot, and does that make it difficult for you in a fight scene not to square up with somebody or counter somebody and whatnot?
Got to control them hands, right? Nah, man, you know, if anything, I think it adds more security to myself, that I know, A, I'm not going to hurt the other person, and B, I'm not going to hurt myself. You know, one thing about these action movies is that you do everything 50 to 70 times. And then you got to switch camera angles, switch the lighting, and do it another 50 to 70 times. And that exhaustion, the first 20 takes, you might do it perfectly. But once you start getting into those later takes that you start getting more tired, that's where, you know, mistakes can happen. And action movies, more than anything, I would say, are where I, as a professional in this business, have seen the most injuries take place. And that's where, you know, the experience comes in, where you know how to do certain things and how to do certain moves and make sure that you're protecting the other person when you do them. Right. You want to do them great for camera, but you also want to make sure that that person gets to go home and go see their family.
Awesome. So we're going to move on to Charles with the Hot Zone.
Hey, how's it going, man? That movie was fantastic. And going back to the Guy Ritchie and the script thing. What I want to know is, did you know you were going to be working with Guy Ritchie and just immediately said yes, or was it a question of you got the script and were inclined to do this film?
So it was a little bit of both. I got the script, and I knew off the top it was a Guy Ritchie script. So already I read it with a smile on my face. It was a whole different, certain directors, you welcome the material. And so I was excited to read it. When I read it, I loved it. And I saw it in my head as a Guy Ritchie film. And it was dope to be able to actually see how he gets his movies to look and feel so real. And it's the reason why, as I told, Sika, is that he's constantly rewriting. So you never have the opportunity as an actor to perfect anything to make it look cool or make it look badass. You're literally the whole time trying to figure out, okay, how the hell am I gonna do this now? And so before you can figure it out, he's yelling action. So there's a certain clumsiness factor to it and a certain urgency to everything that you're doing all day long. I mean, when we leave that trailer, we only go in the very early morning to put on our gear, and then at the end of the night to take it off. You don't have a break. So you're constantly going take after take after take, and it takes out the thinking part where you're in the acting part. What I felt like when I left a Guy Ritchie film was, I don't know how my acting was that day, but I know my reacting was on point. All you do was react all day long to new shit. And so I guess that's how I figured out how he gets those ultra real performances out of his actors.
Thank you.
We're going to move to Bryson Hall with This Is 50.
Hey, what's going on, Laz? This is Bryson with This Is 50. And my question is, man, to prepare for a Guy Ritchie film, what films did you watch from Guy Ritchie to prepare?
Bro, my whole life I've been preparing for a Guy Ritchie film, to be honest with you. Snatch was the first film that kind of exposed me to Guy Ritchie. And that was the first movie that made me a fan of his and Jason Statham. And then after that, it just exposed me to this whole London underground, this gritty, gypsy fight club type world. And from there, I started following his movies, and I almost never needed to know what movie it was. If it was a Guy Ritchie movie, I would watch it because of him. A lot of directors have that, Tarantino's of the world. It's like, okay, I know what he's gonna bring to the table. And so it was exciting, to read that this was, a classic Jason Statham, Guy Ritchie, high action, high octane action movie. And I was kind of already in the zone because I had just wrapped The Boys 4 days before then. So I literally got to LA, unpacked, packed a new bag, and I was on a plane to London that week. So I never got a chance to get cold, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that helped me out a lot too.
Sure, thanks.
All right, we're going to go back to Michael with We Random TV.
All right, Laz. So Wrath of Man reunited you and Jason Statham because you guys worked together on Fast and Furious 6. So how was it different this time around working with him on Wrath of Man versus Fast and Furious?
So I actually got to work with him for the first time on Wrath of Man, and I say that because when they brought me back for Fast and Furious, it was as a flashback. So in Fast and Furious 4, the part that I was in as the lead villain, my character kills Michelle Rodriguez.
Right.
Then the studio figured out, if we kill Michelle Rodriguez, we're killing 40% of the Hispanic audience that comes to see this movie. We need to bring her back to life. And so luckily, they had to fly me out to reshoot the scene where I kill her. And she ends up getting away and living. And that's why she ends up having, I think it was amnesia or something like that. Like she hit her head instead of me actually killing her. And so that brought her back to life, and it brought 40% of their audience back to the movie. So we weren't actually in any scenes together. We were in the same film, but we just weren't in any scenes together. So this was our first time actually meeting, shaking hands, talking, and working together on screen.
We're gonna go back to Cirillo with Black with No Chaser.
Laz, bro, this may be a little premature here, man, but I feel like I gotta ask you, man, being as somebody that studied Guy Ritchie, I'm a fan of you, Jason Statham, like Guy Ritchie, the whole 9 yards. It's like, where would you, if you can, right, where would you rank this movie amongst heist movies over the years, man? There's been so many heist movies that come out. I feel like each one kind of brings its own different element based upon the actors, based upon the directors, and so on and so forth, and the screenplay. Like where do you kind of put this in the bucket? I'm not saying you gotta put it at the top or at the bottom, whatever it is, but where do you kind of situate this film?
Man, that's a tough one, because I want to say it's number one, but I'll say it this way: it's Guy Ritchie's best heist film. How about that? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a big fan of just action, the genre, period. So at a certain point, I don't even look at it as technically a heist film. It's just that high octane, the grit and the nastiness that, to me, I feel like speaks to all action movie fans. And what excites me, I mean, I know we're trying to keep it positive, but what excites me is that finally the world is starting, at least our world is starting to get a little more normal again, and people can go see it in theaters. And a movie like this, like, you have to see it in the theaters. Like, you can't, I don't care what kind of system you have at home, seeing it 15 feet tall and 20 feet wide with a system around you just, booming, it's just a whole other experience. And, I'm happy that hopefully we're getting back to normalcy again, where you can go out in the summertime and see a blockbuster movie in the theaters the way it was designed to be consumed. So happy that we get to open up the doors to that new old normal.
So we are down to our final 2 minutes. So we have one more question from Charles.
Yeah, so speaking of Jason, if I'm correct, I just saw this morning. If I'm correct, you got offed by Jason Kills You. And I'm curious to know because it wasn't a big fight scene. Did you want to fight Jason Statham in a longer scene, or were you kind of content with, all right, I'll keep it right here?
So that was again a Guy rewrite, and I'm gonna tell you how that scene happened. Guy literally grappled on the ground with my stunt double for about 22 minutes, trying to figure out what was the most realistic takedown for Jason and I. And then finally we were just like, all right, because it got to the point where, Guy actually grapples. Like he practices Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my stunt double, Sofian Francis, he practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So neither one of them were trying to get pinned. They were trying to choke each other out. They were flipping each other over. It got to the point where the first AD is like, okay, do I stop? Do I stop this? Like, what's happening right now? They kept going. So Jason and I were like, all right, thanks. We'll figure it out. And that's when we came up with the sequence that you see now, which originally was choreographed to be a much bigger, more elaborate fight. And Guy just felt like it looked too much like a movie. It looked too much like movie fighting, and so Jason and I will take credit for how that ended, because I had my rifle slung across my back, and it just made sense from that angle that ending would happen that way. So after about 22 minutes of Guy grappling on set and getting up sweaty and hot and shirt ripped and all that, we figured out that scene. But that's a Guy Ritchie set, man. anything can happen. You could end up going from pitching him a scene to grappling with him on the ground for 22 minutes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that is a wrap. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to speak with Laz Alonso about